So if you guys have been following me for years, since like the early days, you probably remember some videos where I took tours of the South Side, where I just went around the South Side and showed a lot of well-known spots. I think I did a few videos like that. And there was one particular one, and by the way, too, guys, anybody that you guys see on these other channels, a lot of people I still see out there looking for me. Let people know, spread the word, that I got this new channel, because the word, I know on YouTube it takes a while to get out, man. Even people that were hating everybody, man. I like the haters here too, because the haters keep you humble, man. So, but anyways, you guys probably saw me, hit up a lot of famous spots on the South Side, and one of the spots that I went by was Washington Park and Diet High School. And Provident Hospital, which is like right across the street from that park over there. Well, there was a festival and a circus that has been going on there like this week. Now, this particular incident that I'm going to report in this video was not related to that circus or that festival. That was not going on at the particular time. But we had a really nasty shootout that left 2 people dead and 7 other people injured at that park, right by that high school. Now, this was not during school hours, thankfully, but 2 people were still killed, and one of them was a teenager. And this was really tragic, and right across from the hospital. This was on Wednesday. At least 9 people were shot, 2 of them fatally, they said, in Washington Park on Tuesday evening. Chicago police said that their preliminary investigation showed that 2 groups of people were involved in a personal altercation. So I saw some people speculating on social media because this happened off of 51st Street. And a lot of times when people see like famous streets, based on like what gangs are on that street or whatever, they jump to conclusions that, it must have been the gang that's on that street. For people that are going to put this on them, 051 Young Money is multiple blocks east of this. This was not on their turf, okay? They're like at least, I think, 5 or 6 blocks east of this. They're at Cottage Grove. This is west of that. So, this had nothing to do with that. This was a personal thing. It was not a gang-related thing. But this was around 7:45 p.m. In the 500 block of East 51st by Washington Park. So multiple shots were fired by both groups. It was both groups shooting at each other. Police initially said that a total of 7 people were shot and one of them died, but later said that 2 more victims self-transported to the hospital in good condition. So a 19-year-old man was shot multiple times in the body, and he was taken to the hospital in critical condition, and he died. Also, a 43-year-old man was shot in the back of the head, and he was also pronounced dead. And the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office identified the 2 victims. One of them was a guy who I think his nickname is Pudy or Putty. I don't know how they pronounce his name. I just saw it. I haven't heard it pronounced. But as far as gangs or anything like that, I haven't heard of either of these 2 guys having anything to do with that. And the other guy was a guy named Lionel. So the scene of the crime became a backdrop for political drama. The Republican gubernatorial candidate, Darren Bailey, who's been very critical of Chicago, he's said some pretty nasty things about Chicago. And there was actually like a political firestorm that I'll touch on it a little bit, maybe in another video. Maybe I'll mention it briefly later in this video. But he's running for governor, and so he's using that incident to speak against violence. His comments were challenged by community activists. So he said violence is a public health crisis. This is according to somebody named Bomani Obedelli, of Activists Incorporated. He said, unfortunately, over the years, it's become like a cancer. So that's a nonprofit organization that he works for. It organized baseball games in the park over the past few weeks in hopes of uniting the community. And there was a game last night. 2 nights ago. They say what the community needs most is investment. So they're saying these are communities where you have the least investment of resources, according to Reverend Jeanette Wilson of Rainbow Push. He said there are food deserts, there are deserts of employment, there are deserts of resources, their schools are under-resourced, underfunded. So what she's touching on, this could be a whole nother video or a series of videos. They teach entire college courses on this, but the dynamics of capitalism and economics works oftentimes so that poverty and also wealth can, self-perpetuate. Okay, there's not very much money in the community, so businesses don't go there because they know that there's no money to make there because the people don't have any money. Consequently, there's no jobs and no investment, and the people remain poor. Now, one thing that I'll say though is that this is only one piece of the puzzle, and there are multiple other pieces that she's not mentioning here. And I'm not accusing her of deliberately neglecting them, but people that have a lot of money, people that can live in wealthy areas or even middle class areas, they're not working the kinds of jobs that those businesses would bring. The stores, the restaurants, and stuff like that. Those are going to bring like service sector jobs that are not going to allow people to make it to the next rung of the economic ladder. People are still going to be lower income even with those jobs. So that in and of itself is not. And plus, a lot of people in those communities can easily commute to other communities and do that and have jobs in other communities. Like I said, service sector jobs, the kinds of jobs that allow one to make it to that next level, really most of them require education. And as a former employee of the Chicago Public Schools, I can tell you that the sole, well, I'm not going to say the sole impediment, but the chief impediment to that is peer pressure. Peer pressure and neighborhood pressure and pressure from the other students, and oftentimes bad advice from some of the adults in their immediate circle. It's not the resources at the school. These schools, as far as like the resources needed to obtain A's and B's, and learn the material, they have that. They have that. I've worked at the most impoverished schools in the city of Chicago: Marshall, Crane, Austin, when it was really bad before it became Austin Business Entrepreneurship. Or these are schools that had notorious reputations for violence, poverty, gang activity in the neighborhood. And these schools had plenty of resources that one would need in order to learn the material to prepare one for college. And actually, it's even easier a lot of times to get into college from these schools, because getting an A and B average and making it to one of the higher percentage levels in the class at these schools is easier due to the lower level of academic competition. So, yeah, I'm not saying that she's saying that's the only reason, but it's definitely not the only factor involved here, man. But so several other people, like I said, 7 other people were shot. Police believe that all the victims were in the two groups involved in the altercation. Nobody's currently in custody. Police are asking anyone with information to contact Area 1 detectives or use their tip line at 833-408-0069. A $15,000 reward is available for information leading to arrests. Chicago Police Deputy Chief Fred Moline said that it was another tragic incident. Washington Park is hosting that Universal Circus, but there was not a performance on Tuesday night. There is a show, according to the official website, scheduled for tonight, the day that I'm making this video at 7 p.m., and they're saying the circus was not in operation, and it had nothing to do with the circus. If the circus was operating, there would have been more security there. And when asked about the safety, another couple said Washington Park is a safe place, and they believe what happened was an isolated, targeted incident. So that is not true at all. Washington Park's not safe. That's a pretty dangerous park. I wouldn't put it on par with Garfield Park, or some of the parks by Lawndale, but it's stuff goes down there a lot, and it's kind of like a border area. You got the medical district for UFC by there, and then you've got Provident Hospital right there. You got the high school right there. But then there are some pretty violent gang territories very close to that. This did not seem to be related to that at all, at least from what I've heard. So anyways, man, rest in peace to the 2 that were killed. And get well soon to everybody else. But parks at night in Chicago in general, especially on the south and west side, and even some of them on the north side, that's kind of like something that I would not have kids at ever. Unless it's like one of these small neighborhood parks with the little, kid play areas and stuff like that. But the places where people go for barbecues and things like that, you guys have probably seen some of my old videos over by Toohey Park. They call it Loyola Park. It's right off of Toohey and Sheridan in East Rogers Park. I used to go there all the time in videos, and gang members would be hanging out there a lot. People would have cookouts. You'd see kids playing and stuff. And there'd be guys hanging out there that were on bullcrap. I mean, selling dope, like right there by the basketball court. Now it's a lot better than it was back in the day, but you would have just a lot of criminal activity and just gang members hanging out there in general in the area. The gang members would come and play basketball, or just sit there and watch the basketball games. Basketball courts are kind of like a magnet for gang members and drug dealers to hang out. They go to those areas. There's been times when we've had to dip off the court because guys are starting to get on that stuff, and everybody just bails out. Time to go. So anything where there's that, it attracts that kind of attention. We used to have there used to be a lot of basketball courts on the north side, and like in the alleys and things of that nature. And gang members would come there to hoop. It's like the preferred sport for gangbangers. I mean, it just is. I was an avid hooper when I was younger, and I witnessed this firsthand. So a lot of those rims were taken down. They were making noise late at night. Violent activities, but is big potential like that. So yeah, just be advised, man. I don't know what this argument was over, but these arguments can start over the littlest stuff. Somebody makes a comment about somebody's clothes or hair, and things can just escalate real quick. So I have no idea what this was over, but just be advised of that, guys. Your boy Winnie C. Report. I'm out.